if you can learn how to create like your online virtual product and even make money online right now, then I'd love to help you through that journey as well.
The staff from Speakers Institute, you guys are really, really lovely and encouraging. Alice, for all of your honesty, for stepping up here and just giving every single one of you, and it's really good.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for 6 years, and this is the first course I've ever done, and it was astounding. It was, and thank you, Kate, for the feedback today. That was brilliant, and it's given me the confidence to back my floor, because a while and you come back. Thank you.
Sam, thank you. It's been absolutely awesome today, and I really feel like we're all improving. So thank you, Sam. Really awesome.
I wish everyone all the best on this wonderful course. And Sam, you've created an amazing business. I also want to congratulate the people you've got working underneath you. Great, if you're a resource. And I congratulate them for supporting you. It's excellent.
I'd actually just like to thank Sam and the team so much for everything you've done, but I'd really like to thank everybody else, from all of you. It's just been so exhilarating. I'm so excited for each and every one of you, because it's just the growth in such a short space of time. So thank you all very, very much.
So I want to say, look, I've forever been doing courses and programs 350. I'm very, very impressed with the level of knowledge of the coaches, offering gold nugget after gold nugget, worth every minute as well. So thanks.
My work relies on face-to-face speaking at conferences around the world. So investing in this course is really about looking to the future. So it's really an investment, really, really course. So around to all.
From the age of 9 years old, I have been fascinated with success. The day I left school, I could not read, spell or write. I had no idea what I wanted to be or could be. All I did know was I had a burning desire. I just didn't know where to start or how to achieve it. My only option was to get a job at McDonald's. For 18 years, my desired success mission was to own my own McDonald's stores. For me to achieve this, I needed to be an outstanding performer and create wealth of over $1 million debt-free. I achieved my desired success mission through. I currently own 2 McDonald's stores that produce over $8 million in revenue per annum. For many years, I have had that my story, message and knowledge was meant to be within my life. I knew I had to find the right to help me achieve this mission. Sam showed me the ability to be more vulnerable and how to systemize 20-year business and success knowledge. If you have a story or knowledge that you want to share and add value to people, man.
Hey guys, Sam Cawthorne here, CEO and founder of SpeakersTV. Lean in where you can, give us any level of feedback, and we are really excited about your success. And don't forget the best.
Remember your parents loving you to the core, no matter how you were. why I joined Speakers Institute's boot camp is to only improve better, because learning is a continuous process, and I do think that I have become one of the greatest influencers that you will see. I spent my entire teenage being called names, and I saw other girls, other women, other boys as well being called names. We as humans are so quick in passing a comment, and I faced all of that.
You know, the universe gives us to create greatness.
Yes.
And I think you are on the tipping point of the old is gone, the new is here. Step out into the world and create that change, and you are going to be the change for so many people. Congratulations.
Welcome to Speakers TV. And wherever you are in the world, there is a reason why you've joined here on this amazing Wednesday. Guys, in this episode, we're going to bring to you some of the best speakers, some of the best influencers, and not only that, we'll also showcasing a number of our students who have got best-selling TEDx stages, get them to share their journey on how their story is, and then ultimately learning how to get that story out there. We truly believe in you, and I'm really glad you're tuning in to our Wednesday episode of Speakers TV. We'll see you on the other side. Okay, so super excited about this next speaker here. So our next speaker, I originally found out that she was I use every. So I love my coffee, wherever I travel. It's actually called Hey You, and it is actually the most used app for cafes and restaurants. So this next speaker here is one profound entrepreneur. Not only is all about the future, and obviously it's a phenomenal app and is a real tech junkie, but her new endeavor is called Zambezi, which is now a training organization, which I'm sure she will share with you. She writes on entrepreneurship for AFR, also had a column with the New York Times, and then on top of that, she is under 3 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, please, Rebekah Campbell!
Hello everyone, this is so intimidating to be up on the stage full of speakers. I'm not a speaker, so I'm Rebekah. I build businesses. So I just want to first by asking who in this room has, or who has an idea for a business or a project or an idea to make. Okay, awesome. Well, I hope some of what I'm going to share will resonate with you. Sam has asked me to speak about influence and the process of influence, how to be influential. So I'm just going to start by distinguishing influence. Separate leadership and influence as being different things. Being the leadership is the ability, is leadership is the reality in the minds of other people. So if you think about someone like Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King, they were able to, others could believe that could happen. So important skill if you want to make something happen. Today I'm going to speak, which is really the process of creating something. So the business, creating a project, like how do you influence people, bring people to make something happen. How you kill. I looked back at my own career. I kind of tried to unpack like some of my head right, but I thought I would into the backstory so that my back in a town. It's a town that's the capital of New Zealand. I was interested. I was always selling flowers or collecting golf. I always had businesses. My most formative experience as a child, though, I had you have this huge city. I thought, what am I going to do with this 3 months? And I had this idea to do it. And my town of Wellington had the highest youth suicide rate in the world. And run a concert to raise awareness of youth of all the support organisations that are available. So that was my summer project, to convince Neil Finn to play. Back then it was huge. And a bunch of other big New Zealand bands. It was an incredibly hard thing to do. I don't want to understate how difficult it was. But in the end, it was a huge success. We had 15,000 people. It was all broadcast. And it really started a conversation in New Zealand about this epidemic. It was a formative experience for me because at the age of 19, I remember straight after that event, taken all of my energy, every resource I could have imagined to put together. I was sitting on a beach and I thought, wow, like I had that idea happen. I came to know myself and I thought if I could do that, possible. So that was just an amazingly powerful experience to have at that young age. I moved to Australia years later. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was interested in music. And I found a little band who were playing in a local pub in Sydney called George. At that stage, no one knew who they were. I think it was about 50 people at this gig. And I asked if I could be their manager. And so over the next 8 years, in my 20s, I built one of Australia's largest music management companies, an independent record label. So we launched the careers of George, of Matt Corby, of Evermore, of a bunch of other artists. And it was a really fun career at that stage of my life. But I was kind of heading towards 30 and thinking, I just can't see myself in pubs watching bands for the rest of some other career here. So I had an idea for an app, which Sam mentioned before, which became Hey You. It started as an app to recommend cafes and restaurants. It ended up payments platform in Australia. 1 million Australians. We process 25,000 transactions every day, coffee, and we've now raised around 17 million in venture capital. A year ago, when I was a baby, I had an idea for an education company, which is Zambezi. So throughout my music career and Hey You, I always wanted to learn. I always needed to learn new things. So I needed to learn digital marketing. I needed to learn user experience design. I needed to learn presentation skills. But I didn't want to go and learn from some kind of university professor. I needed to learn from someone who was actually doing it right now, preferably doing it at a high growth company. And so Zambezi is a platform that enables people from high growth companies like Canva or Facebook or Google to create and lead their own courses. At the moment, it's just one-day small group workshops. But yeah, you can go and learn leadership with the ex-CEO of Facebook or growth with the head of growth at Canva in a one-day workshop format. So I started in February last, and I was by myself for the first 7 or 8 months, brought in a co-founder, and now we're a small team of 5, but we've created 44 courses across Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and we represent about, I think, 47 or so experts. So that's Zambezi. So onto my lessons in influence. So as I kind of went back and tried to unpack, like, what does it take to be influential? Or what does it take to, like, say, I've got this idea, and then I'm actually going to make it happen? And I came up with these 7 elements. So I'm sure there are more, but these are the 7 that made the most sense for me. And I'm going to go through each of them. Some of them may seem obvious to you, and I question whether I should put them in because they might have been too obvious. Weren't obvious to me, and I kind of had to stumble upon them and kind of learn on. Came from the story I shared earlier about starting the concert. It was incredibly hard. I put it out, and then I just put one foot and it happened. This is the journey in the tech company in 12, professional journey. Axis, bottom, very sad. So like this, or get like an amazing introduction like Sam just gave me. You think, wow, like, it sounds like it's been a straight line, but it's actually totally a squiggly line. And so I think it's important to recognise because, when you get into a trough, know that everybody has been into a trough like that. So I started out in 2012. I didn't know how to build technology, so I had to raise money for my first company for Hey You. So I raised 1.5. I had a big marketing people, engineers built the product, and then the first product didn't work. So a year, we were very close to running out of money. It's a horrible, horrible moment. How I got out, but to 3 companies. West headers, so running a small startup team to a team of 50. My co-founder and I had very different ideas about how we should lead the team. We were burning, I think, $400,000 a month, and my co-founder left, and I was 7 months pregnant. So it was a really hard time. So that was a very low moment. But yeah, we managed to obviously keep going. We brought in a new CEO, and then a year ago I stepped out and launched Zambezi, the new thing. So back up. Happy place at the moment, but totally prepared that I'm sure there will be another trough at some stage. But the lesson here is really just to start. And I've mixed metaphors a little bit, but just recognize it's just about, I like this idea of throwing your hat over the fence. So when I did the concert, I just said, I'm going to do this concert, I'm going to get these people to play. And then it's just like putting one foot in front of the other, recognizing you don't know anything. Like when I launched Hey You, that I didn't know anything about building a tech company. I didn't know anything about engineering, but I made lots and lots of mistakes. It's really just a process of starting and then keeping on going, being prepared for the troughs, and eventually you get there. Next lesson is from even earlier stage in my life. So I mentioned I grew up in Wellington. When I was starting high school, I think it was the first or the second week in high school, this guy was our Prime Minister. He was a visionary leader called David Longy. I don't know if any of you know of him, but we had to do this project at school, which was, what do we want to be when we grow up? And the idea is we had to go and interview someone who had that job. We got a little list of questions we had to ask them. And so you could go and interview like a nurse or a doctor or a teacher or something and ask them what did they study at school and so on. And I thought, as a 12-year-old, what's the best job? Obviously, the best job is Prime Minister. So I should go and interview the Prime Minister. So I toddled off to my school office, made a phone call to the Prime Minister's office, said, my name's Rebekah, I need to interview David Longy for my school project. She said, you need to write a letter, send it in. So I wrote my letter, sent it off, called back a week later, and she said, yep, got your letter, we've scheduled you in. It was like next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. It was so easy. And so I went, I did this interview. Actually, my teacher didn't believe me. That was the funny thing. They wouldn't get me the time off school because they thought that I was making this up. It wasn't until the Prime Minister's office called to change my time that they were like, wow. But yeah, the lesson is, if you want something, just ask for it. People really are like a lot more open to helping than you would think. And I used that, there's a missing slide there, but I used that several years later when I was building my technology company. And the first lot of engineers that I had weren't working out. And I couldn't figure out, every time I'd use the app, it was something would break. And I couldn't figure out how to have an engineering team be successful or who I should hire. And I came along to an event much like this. There was a guy there that was speaking called Lars Rasmussen, who was the founder of Google Maps. And I just bowled up to him in the lunch break and said, hey, my name's Rebekah. I'm trying to build this app. And I'm really struggling with my engineering team. Would you give me some help? And he really liked the idea. We had coffee. He interviewed my team. He ended up joining the board and investing in the business, helped me recruit somebody from Google. But yeah, the lesson there is just ask. There's no one that you actually can't get to if you want to. It's like, for this business, I called up David. I don't as a 12-year-old, I didn't have any contact, so there's nothing to stop you asking for things. So that were the first 2 elements were about getting started. Next, I want to talk about bringing people together and relationships. So this is how I felt for a large portion of the early stages in my career. I felt like I was doing this all by myself. And although I was good at inspiring people to start something, I actually wasn't great at working with people as a team over the long term. I really couldn't figure out why people just wouldn't be more like me. And I remember thinking, I'm sure a lot of people in the business think this, but I was like, I wish I could just clone myself. And then I would be able to figure out how to work in a team. And what I learned, which no one tells you when you're starting out, is that long-term, deep relationships and friendships are actually one of the most important things that you need to make, to have an enjoyable experience in business, but also to get your project going and off the ground. So, an example I want to give is, this is my accountant here on the left, David, who I've now been with for 8 years. But prior to David, I probably went through 7 or 8 accountants. And what would happen would be, I'd get a new accountant because I was frustrated with the old one. And first of all, the new accountant would always look at all the stuff that the old accountant did and go, that was all terrible. And so I have to fix everything. But then 6 months in, that accountant would do something, that maybe they'd make a mistake or they wouldn't get back to me quickly enough. And then I would start to get frustrated. Maybe I'd hang on, keep it trying to work for another 6 months. Eventually, I'd move accountants. But what I realised was, building these no one is perfect, but actually putting loyalty and the relationship kind of above opportunity and above business will serve you much better at helping you to be able to get things done and be a much more enjoyable experience. So now I have these mentors and investors who have backed me over multiple businesses. I have a branding agency that I've used every single time I've started a business. And no one's perfect, but you just get so much more done if you have built deep relationships and you've built trust. So I love this quote, which is, there's something wrong with your character if opportunity controls your loyalty. Next one is around management. So again, about people. So when I thought of, I didn't go to business school, so I didn't really learn how to manage people. But this is probably a good representation of how I used to manage people. When I had my team of 50 at HeyU, we built a product that a lot of people love and Sam loves. The way that I would manage my senior leadership team was Monday morning, we would work through this painfully long Google spreadsheet of tasks. And I would just get everybody up to, and then we would add new tasks. And it would last for kind of 2 or 3 hours. No one would understand why people didn't seem kind of and then, which I loved, and it completely transformed the way that I managed my team. And it came from a university professor in Boston. And what he did was, at the beginning of the class, for that class, and all they had to do was, the next day they had to bring in a letter dated the last day of semester, saying what they had done over the semester in order to get the A. If they could provide that letter the next day, dated then they would automatically get an A for the semester. And what he found was the process of thinking through how you were going to get the A completely changed the behaviour of his students throughout the semester. And so I started trying to apply this theory to my management. And so what I would do was, with new starters, I would get people to write me a letter dated 3 months at the end of their probation, telling me what they had done to have a successful initial 3 months with the company. This is a letter that I wanted to show as an example. So my head of engineering at HeyU asked for 6 weeks to work remotely for 6 weeks because his girlfriend needed to go to Japan. So he was leading a team of around 10 engineers. So it's pretty disruptive to have the leader of the team go for 6 weeks to Japan. You need to read everything in the letter. But instead of me working through with him line by line of what he would need to do, I got him to write me a letter dated 6 weeks' time, telling me what he had done, telling me how the team had managed to overachieve their goals. And this process just was so empowering for him. And it also completely changed his behaviour, and it really changed my relationship with the team. So that one idea really transformed the way that I was able to manage, from being able to manage a small team of 2 or 3, enabled me to manage a team at scale, and particularly managing more senior people. So tip, give everyone an A. So assume everybody has an A. Last one on managing people. This I'll go back to the trough, which I showed at the beginning of my talk. So 2013, I'd raised $1.5 million. I spent almost $1.5 million. I had a team, and I was about to need to start laying people off, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I found myself, I was in New York, actually trying to raise money. And I found myself sitting in Central Park crying, just not knowing. And what was most stressful about that situation is I hadn't really told anyone. And I hadn't told anyone because I was really embarrassed. I didn't want the rest of the team to know because I thought they would be fearful about what was going to happen. And I was embarrassed that I'd stuffed up. And so I think coming back on the plane, I realised that the only way out of the situation was to flip holding on to all this information and to be like this idea of radically transparent. And so I went back, I got everybody in a room, opened up the books, showed where we were at, talked about all the different, the different things that we could do. And what I found was the whole team came together, and that, you know, the team had become they knew something was wrong, and they had started looking for other jobs. They'd started coming in late. They'd been very kind of demotivated, but knowing what was happening and having the ability to contribute to us coming out of that gave everybody, created a sense of camaraderie, but also gave everybody a lot of confidence, because when you have a secret, people imagine that the secret is much worse than the reality. And then I tried doing this publicly. After I did that privately with my group, I started sharing publicly all of the challenges that I was facing every week. And I started keeping a blog, just a personal blog. And so every week there was some new lesson that we learned, some new thing that I'd stuffed up. And so I just wrote about it. And what I found was the same thing happened. I got the public and our customers came on board with the journey, and then all of a sudden people wanted to support us. So there was really, my blog got a massive amount of traffic. Eventually the New York Times noticed and asked me to turn it into a column for them. And I still keep that blog for them. I still keep it as a column in the AFR. So the lesson is be transparent and be vulnerable. And that, I like this, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And when I was able to be transparent with my team, gave us the ability to then create and innovate and bring people together. So keeping going. So this is what I might have looked like as I was sitting in Central Park crying. And I might have looked like probably also in 2016 when we were also again about to run out of money again and my co-founder left. This is not a lesson about what it feels like. This is a lesson about what it was like for me when I was in those situations, what I did. So I found that I felt very deflated, I felt demotivated, I started needing a lot more sleep, and my energy levels dropped. I found I was doing things like I would go on to Seek and start thinking, oh, this doesn't work out, maybe I can get one of these jobs or something. Just to try and found was that you'll never get out of a trough when you've got that kind of mindset. And that as a founder or as a business leader, your energy and your enthusiasm and your optimism, that will impact everyone around you, and it will also impacts yourself. So it's not just when you end up in those kind of big troughs. Every week there are moments when I question, is this really going to work? Should I be doing something else? You can't think like that and catch yourself and go, I need to keep my energy going, I need to keep my optimism up, I need to keep driving, because that will drive both me, but also everybody who's around me. The last point I want to make is around purpose, and this speaks a lot to what Rebekah was speaking about earlier. So when you start thinking about if you want to build something really, really big, and I built something with Hey You that's quite big, and I'm super, people every day like Sam get their coffees and their team. So hard to build. And I had a moment where I Hey You to, and doing the app, and I was saying, if you put this app into all the pubs, then people will buy more drinks because they can just sit there and they can order from their phone, they'll be able to order food. And it was I was really trying to muster all the energy and enthusiasm that I could for this. And then I went home that night, late, because I'd flown from Melbourne, put my head on the pillow, and I thought, was that really the most valuable use of my energy and talent that day? Could I have used, whatever it was, November the 11th, 2016, could I have used that day in a way that had more purpose, in a way that was like more productive for what I actually want to achieve in the world. And I just didn't like the answer to that question. And so I realised at that point that I was going to from Hey You at some point out, and I needed to start something else. And I think if you look at founders who have built really important businesses, they've built them, even businesses like Canva actually have been, 10 something, and you want it to be that has a purpose that can keep you going for 5, 10 years. You don't want to get 5 years down the track like I did and think, is this really the best use of my time? So I feel like with Zambezi helping the world do extraordinary work with access to really great people, like that's something I can imagine will keep me going for a really long time. So element 9 is purpose. So really think about, before you start something, think about, what is your core purpose? Is this something that's going to keep you going? So that's my 7 elements. I hope that that's resonated with some of you. I also love you to check out Zambezi. So this is just some of the programs that we're running, and it's just zambezi.com.
Tell us a little bit more about what Zambezi does. So are you guys just based in Sydney, or is it a national? Tell us a little bit more about Zambezi.
Great. So Zambezi is now Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, but we will be national. Yeah. So we enable experts to create and lead their own courses. So effectively what we want to be is a really curated Airbnb for education. So rather than going and learning like a university course in digital marketing, you can go and spend a day with the head of growth at Canva, or you can spend a day with the head of marketing at Koala Mattress, or people who are doing really awesome things. So it could be the co-founder of TEDx Sydney has got a course on personal branding. So there's now a bunch of courses like that, but eventually we want to be an Airbnb for the very best people to teach.
Wow, come on, that's amazing. And just before you go, I do like asking this question with everyone, but look, you are a serial entrepreneur. You've got 2 kids under 5?
3.
Under 3. You have 2 kids under 3. You do all this. What do you do, Rebekah, for yourself to recharge your tanks, for you to operate at the level that you do?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I think, what I used to do before I had kids, which I still do actually, is that exercise is really obvious. But I've always just gone at full, but then having kids makes you realise that, once you're at capacity and you try to pile on a child, you just and so now I have 2 children. What I have done is I have gone, I can't, most important, remove a lot. So instead of looking at how I can take time out, I've looked at what I can actually remove from my life. So I removed the news, for example. Yeah. So I realised how much time I had invested keeping up with the news. I'd worry during the day about people in the news and what was happening to them. And I thought, actually, in politics, what do I get out of this? What have I got out of all that investment? I removed all the junk from my house. I removed Facebook. So I just, as I looked at all the things I could take out, and that has moved commuting. So I moved house, so I didn't have to commute. So just, taking all of those things out, like spring cleaning my life, has given me a lot more space.
Absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rebekah Campbell. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sam Cawthorne here, CEO and founder of Speakers Institute. If you give me 60 seconds of your time, I'll show you how to set up an online webinar in 48 hours while growing your authentic followers to tens of thousands, and then teach you how to package your IP so they buy your programs online using what we call influence on video. What this means is you talk to camera, share your value, and then stack your offerings and create urgency in a way that makes it so irresistible that they click the button and purchase your high ticket sale. Talk with any of our clients globally, and I promise you will not find anyone that does what we do. All you have to do is to create an online event, share your ideas, and then stack your offerings just like this. And here's the big secret. Everyone is online right now searching for people just like you to help them learn things that you already know. There are people doing it right now, but they probably don't know as much as you. So right now is your chance to learn how to sell online, and my influence on video formula is easy to use and foolproof for anyone to master. Just recently, I did a 1.5 hour video online to only 40 people, and at the end, 10 of them bought my $4,000 product, all by one click of the button. It was seamless. So if you want me to show you how to influence on video, stack your offerings that make it irresistible, learn my exact script so you can come across authentic and real, and create urgency so then they buy immediately, then click on the link below and join my free masterclass.
Share, I mean, how good the feeling was after completing the session, and I think the feedbacks were just too good. So I mean, that is forcing me to think beyond. I think it was pretty linear thinking earlier, and now it is pretty diversified. So that is very helpful.
Thank you, Charlene, Christiane, and Sam, for obviously the benefit and the inspiration you've given to so many of us, and to all the participants, because I think for me personally, this is the first time I've felt that I've been in such a safe space to be vulnerable and to make mistakes. And I know that a lot of us have shared some really traumatic events in our life, possibly for the first time publicly. So that's just been a really huge thing. So thank you for everyone for opening up, and for people to open up and be authentic.
I'd like to firstly acknowledge you, Sam. Thank you so much for instituting the Speakers Institute, and all of the lovely people who've attended today. I think they've done an absolutely wonderful job. I think all of their stories are worthy of stage presence. I think you'll all go very far.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for 6 years, looking after little kids, and this is the first course I've ever done, and it was astounding. It blew my mind. It was beyond my expectations, and thank you, Kate, for the feedback today. That was brilliant, and it's given me the confidence to back myself, because I didn't have that before, because you know, when you leave for a while and you come back, it's all a bit dodgy. So thank you.
And it was really an experience which I was looking for, to give that push, the last push which is needed, because I'm very low on execution. So your story and your message gave me that push which I really needed. So thank you very much, and also to the fellow participant for bearing with me.
Thank you, everyone. You've all inspired me today, and I want to thank you, Sam, for putting this on, and Christiane and Charlene inspired me to come through conversations we had, and so I'd like to thank her in particular, and got a lot out of it. So thank you, everyone, and thanks for all the lovely comments.
First of all, I would like to say thank you, massive thank you to every single one of you. It was a great company. Proximity is power. I'm overwhelmed with the love and energy. I've learned so much, and by this sheer circumstances, by now that I actually can do it, I'm blown away. It's amazing.
And I really want to thank you, Sam, for this amazing course.
Yeah, every single one of you, especially you, Sam, and all of the mentors as well. There can be times where we're alone. We think we're the only ones, we feel like we're the only ones going through that, and to burden each other. But in a space like this, it actually brings us closer together. So thank you very much for sharing all your stories, and thank you for the opportunity.
I'd actually just like to thank Sam and the team so much for everything you've done, but I'd really like to thank everybody else. I have learnt so much from all of you. It's just been so exhilarating. I'm so excited for each and every one of you, because the growth of time has been phenomenal. So thank you all much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely all a lot today, and I really feel like we're all improving. So thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
I wish everyone all the best on the course. I think you've created a bunch of the people underneath you, because it wouldn't be that great if you didn't have all this wonderful resource and I congratulate them for supporting you. It's excellent.
Thank you very much. All the feedbacks were golden for me. I learned a lot. Plus, how I should not try to put all the information in those 6 minutes. I should let the audience absorb what I'm trying to convey. They should absorb my story, and so as the energy level should fluctuate properly at the right moment. So thank you very much for that.
So I want to say, look, I've forever been doing courses and programs. I've probably spent over $350,000 in my life. This was worth every cent. I'm very, very impressed with the level of knowledge of the coaches, and they just kept offering gold nugget after gold nugget. Definitely was worth every minute as well. Yeah, I really want to thank the coaches, and I've noticed a difference in everyone as well over the last couple of days as well. So thanks.
Guys, I just wanted to say my work relies on face-to-face workshops, speaking at conferences around the world. So investing in this course is really about looking to the future. So it's really an investment in the long term. It's been a really, really professionally put together course. So commendations all round to all of you.
To all the staff from Speakers Institute, you guys have been really supportive and really, really lovely and encouraging. But to everybody else, for all of your honesty and your courage for stepping up here and just giving all, because I've learned so much from every single one of you, and it's just been really, really good. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Cordiner, and a long time ago I was one of the proteges. Now back then I had absolutely no idea where I was going to go. I was an expert in my field, but I was working very much in the corporate space. I also had no followers on any social media accounts. I had no email list. I had no people anywhere on a database that was out there in the public market. But I knew that I needed and wanted to get out, get online and make a difference to the world. And I knew that the only way I'd be able to do that is to go out and start speaking, putting myself out there as an individual. And it was really confronting because there's all these kind of things that we go through. Will people like me? Will people engage with me? Will anyone even care about what I have to say? Will people mock me? Will people criticize me? Will I be torn down by my competitors or trolls? So I had all of these worries, like everyone else does, not knowing where I was going to start. You know, do I start with the logo, the website, the message, the thing, the branding, the story? It's all very, very overwhelming. So I was absolutely there. After going on Sam's program, I have gone on to win multiple awards. I have now got over 20,000 students in 146 countries. I have been listed by the Huffington Post as one of the top 50 must-follow female entrepreneurs. I've published 12 books, 5 of which have gone to international #1 bestseller. I recently was headhunted by a university and now hold the record for being the youngest university director in Australian history. And I have done all of this from working in the spare bedroom in my house. I now have a multi-million-dollar education company with children running around. And one of the things that I really want to make clear to other people is that everyone can do this. Every single person. I had no special starting point. I had no investors. I've never had anyone give me money. I absolutely have just started on the corner of a kitchen table with nothing but a vision. And that is the only thing you need to get started.
I have always wanted to be on the stage. I just never found the opportunity, and I never thought I was good enough. But I've always loved to be up there because I've seen speakers speak, and I was thinking, wow, how passionate they are. But the video that I saw from Sam Cawthorn, that was just different. So I decided to come here to listen to what Sam had to say, and he blew me away on the first day. And I told myself I needed to come to this training under the Speakers Institute.
I need you to go out there because now is the time. Now is the time for you to tell people that, hey, your PTSD issues, your sleep disorders, your migraines, you have help. You don't have to be beholden to medication.
I know that you wanted to be a professional speaker, and I know that this is your next journey and your next stage.
What I have learned over the past 3 days was the passion of the coaches, of the trainers, of the support team really helped me to be comfortable. And one important thing that I said was this: trust the process. And I think that is such a wonderful thing to do. And so I would encourage you, trust the process, trust yourself. If you really want to do this, this is the course for you. Come and join us and we can become a tribe together. Thank you.
This is the
Celebrity Authority Show. Please welcome your host, Sam Cawthorne. Here we are again. I'm excited that we have Adam Luckin in the studio here in Sydney. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
That's good. Hey, Adam, now you're a specialist in online design, online creativity, online websites, etc. Tell us a little bit more about how important is online.
Well, it's critical these days to have a really great presence online. We used to have storefronts for our businesses, and that used to be the way people would view you. But now, everybody views you based on your online presence.
Absolutely. As soon as I find a company or whatever, you're going to look online and see who is this person, whether it's social media or website or whatever. Is that right?
That's correct.
Look, I want to unpack this in a moment, but Adam, tell us a little bit more about your story. Why? Where did you start, and why are you so obsessed about online in general?
Oh, well, it started many years ago. I actually have an engineering degree, but that really didn't work for me.
That was based here in Australia?
Yes, I got it from RMIT. I got my, yep.
Very good.
And then I did that for about 5 years, but then I travelled overseas and spent 3 years in England, and then another 20 years in the US.
Wow. Whereabouts in the US?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Beauty.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool there. There I moved into sales engineering. So I worked for a company for 14 years over there as a sales engineer. And I was passionate about having a relationship with my audience, not my audience, my clients.
Yeah.
And that really built a lot of business. It was incredible working in the States, from a sales perspective and a marketing perspective and an interactive perspective with my customers. And I managed to be very successful there. It was an incredible experience. The Americans are incredible people. They're very interesting. They build people up, and it felt really great when I was in the States. And then I returned back to Australia back in 2013. See, when I was in the States, I was fortunate enough to get married and had a beautiful child. Unfortunately, my wife then died when my son was 2, and so I brought my son up since he was 2, and now he's 16, beautiful boy.
Sorry, Adam, can we just go back?
Yeah.
How did your wife die? Would you mind if I ask?
No, not a problem. She died from cancer. She didn't actually die from the cancer. She actually died from the treatment for the cancer.
This was in the US?
In the US. She was American, and my son was born in America, obviously. And
was it a long time coming? What type of cancer did she have?
She had a rare cancer. We actually went to the Mayo Clinic over in the States to find out, and they said, look, this particular cancer, there's only been about 10 cases in like 10 years. So they really didn't know how to treat it. And it was actually in her lung, in her right lung. And it wasn't lung cancer. Lung cancer from smoking is typically small cell lung cancer. But this was a growth in her lung, and she actually was a keen runner, and she was running like in very cold weather in the States, which gets even colder than here.
Absolutely.
And she spat up a bit of blood. So her doctor suggested she goes to get an X-ray on her lungs, and she'd never had an X-ray on her lungs before, and they found a growth. And initially we thought it was we were hoping it was just a bronchiogenic cyst. We had 2 opinions. One was cancer, one was a bronchiogenic cyst. So we went with the bronchiogenic cyst. And they had troubles biopsying it to find out whether it actually was cancer. And then, so they monitored it every 6 months. They did they checked her out to see an EKG or a particular type of test to see whether it would grow or not. And then eventually it started. So then they said, okay, well, she has to go through 6 weeks of chemo and radiation, and she would lose her hair. And
sorry, how long ago was this?
This was back in 2004.
Okay.
So about 15 years ago.
So
she was really healthy. She was, she was running and doing, looking after our son. And then she went in for the operation on the 20th of January 2005. And it was a pneumonectomy, so they removed her right lung. And she was pretty good for 3 days, and they took the respirator out. And then after 3 days, they put the respirator in, and 2 weeks later, she was dead.
How did you and your son navigate that?
Well, my son was 2, so he was aware, but on an animalistic, a deeper level. But he was fine, and what I did was I made sure I kept the environment consistent. We stayed in the same house. He went to the same daycare. I pretty much was similar, except he just didn't have his mother there. Now I believe he did miss his mother on a deeper level, and he actually got ADHD out of that. He was later on diagnosed with ADHD, but they said because of that, the loss of his mother caused him to, his maturity was, and I believe his ability to focus and concentrate was affected by the loss of his mother. But yeah, it was extremely hard, on me at the time. I really went through a period of time when I wasn't really that concerned about living. But the 2-year-olds don't really understand that. They still want you to play with them, do all. I just wanted to bury my head in the sand
So what was the key moment, Adam?
Well, really, I just had to, my commitment was to my son. I so much wanted to have a child, and my commitment was to my son. And really, he was probably the main reason why I kept going, because I knew that he needed a parent. I wasn't willing to, let other people bring up my son. It's really interesting. My wife, before she passed away, had said when we used to want to go on a date, we used to have our date. She said, "I don't really want anybody else to bring up our son." And then I think, funnily enough, it's like I'm channeled part of her through me, and it's like, no, I need to be there for my son. I probably could have had a nanny and that kind of stuff, but it was like, no, he needs his father. He needs one of his parents. And so, I was actually a sales engineer at the time in a pressured job in the United States. A lot of competition, a lot of pressure to perform because there's a lot of competition out there. And so I basically had 2 jobs. I'd get up in the morning, I'd maybe work out, and then I'd get him up, get him ready, get him off to school, and then I'd go straight to work all day, then pick him up, take him back home, and start all over again. Feed him, play with him, bath him, whatever. In fact, the weekends was harder than during the week, because during the week I had the break to go to work, but on the weekends it was just like full on. It was just, and I didn't have, she had family, but I didn't have family over there, which was a big factor in why I ended up returning home.
Back to Australia.
So after she died, I think one of the, to go further into what helped me was, in 2005, 2006, I was looking at spending Christmas at home with my son in a cold climate. And as we grew up here, I'm used to warm Christmases, okay? And I was going to be sitting across, I was imagining myself sitting across from my son with his presents and going, what do we do now? And just, I could not deal with that. So I ended up booking a trip home to Australia for 2 weeks. Because I wanted to be home in the sun, I wanted to be around my family.
Yeah.
And so every year after that, to my family, swim, enjoy the beautiful beaches here.
Christmas in Australia, there's no better place in the world.
It was great, and that sort of fed into the reason why part of the reason why I came back is because I reconnected with my family, and my parents were getting older. My family, I got 2 brothers and a sister, and I got 2 nephews and a niece and a brother-in-law sister-in-law. They're all within each other in Melbourne. And so I just really needed that. I found myself very lonely in America. My son had it great. I set him up really well. But
how did your son navigate being in a different country and going to school, etc. here?
It was really
his friends.
Yeah. When I asked him, would you like to move to Australia? The first thing he said was no. You see, I had set him up in the States. They have these plans in America where there's all these houses built in a group, and there was actually a community swimming pool there. Okay. And
a little commune thing,
yeah, like a little commune thing. And basically there was about 8 boys his age within walking distance of our house. So he'd walk out of our house.
Must have been really hard for him.
Yeah. But fortunately he was 10. So, and I knew that if I waited too long, that it would be really, really hard on taking him out on him. And it was really hard bringing him here anyway. He struggled because he had an American accent. He acted like an American. He didn't really, some of the slang in Australia, I don't think he quite understood everything we talked about. He said he liked cricket, but he couldn't understand when the other kids were talking about it, like googly and, silly mid on, all this kind. He didn't really understand the Australian slang around that. And he was kind of sporty, but it sort of, unfortunately, he withdrew from sport and, went into, now he was kind of more into gaming and stuff like that. And so, because a lot of the gaming kids seemed a bit softer soul, he's a soft soul, whereas a lot of the kids who played all the sports weren't quite as soft a soul, I think. So, unfortunately, he withdrew from sports and went into the online, the computer world, which he seems to embrace,
Adam, we can see that you're a great father, and even just through this journey, I'm sure there's fathers out there that actually took a lot away from that story, and thank you very much for sharing. So obviously you are a web designer, web developer, and you really look at this relationship-based website development. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, I look at it from a position of, when I was in the States, I really got a lot of value out of building a relationship with my customers.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the website point of view or from the online point of view, it needs to be targeted towards the target audience. Absolutely, yeah. And to get the value out for the business from the target audience, there needs to be a relationship there. Okay, so first things first, you need to figure out what your target audience.
Right.
Who is the one customer you want through your door? Who's going to spend money? Who's going to stay with you for a long period of time, and then eventually be maybe even your biggest fan, your raving fan.
So like that ideal customer, I think I've heard someone say an avatar. So it's like getting everything about your ideal customer for your product, your services, your message. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. And then from there, design your online presence.
Yeah.
I've found a lot of owners, they'll build their website based on their thought process. They're not experts in connection online. They know their product, but their customers don't.
Correct. So you need an expert like you. Hey, look, just very, very quickly, for someone out there who, let's say, has a business, they've discovered exactly what their avatar is, what is a website? Like, is there a couple of little tips and tricks that you can teach us in some of the things we need to consider when building a website?
Okay, so from the target audience, the first thing you need to be, for any kind of business, is to be found. Okay, so from the target audience, you can figure out what are they searching online. What are their key phrases. What is their problem. You can learn from their problem what their key phrase is, and that way you can use things like SEO, which is search engine optimization, where you figure out what the keywords are and then use that information when designing the website. Plus, that's not just websites. That's Facebook, Instagram,
Social media,
Twitter, social media, apps,
yeah.
anything, whatever they're searching, whether they're looking at videos.
Right.
But most of the time, not all businesses, they need to channel it through a website to get a sale. Now, this might change over time, but at the moment, that's the majority of the way people sell things. So then you're going to use that information from the target audience to then design the website, make it relate to them, make sure your images relate to them. If you're looking at a target audience over 40, you don't have people under 40 on your website because they're going to go, oh, they're 20. That's not for me. You have to make sure you have their problem specifically written. You know, if you want to lose weight, do you want to lose weight?
Great.
We help you lose weight.
You lose weight. So be really specific, really bold, yeah.
Really specific on their images, and then the content. What are they interested in reading about to connect with you on it, so they know that you know what you're talking about? Because it's a know, like, and trust. If they get to know, like, and trust you, then there's a bigger chance that they're going to do business with you.
Great formula. Adam, what's next for you?
What's next for me? I'm looking to develop my business further. Looking at how I can bring all this information to my business, whether it be one-to-one or one-to-many.
Right.
So that's what I intend to do.
Would you also mind if I ask, what's your son doing now?
What's my son doing now?
So how old is he? He's
16.
16?
Well, he's doing VCAL in Melbourne, which is kind of like that. Yeah, vocational. He actually wants to do 3D development in game design. So it's interesting because he never wanted, I like doing this.
Create website.
And then he was gonna join a intern as a website developer. I'm going, wait a second, you could have come to work with me. And he says, no. And he's sort of like, he knows all about web savvy and all this kind of stuff. And go, well, you might know a lot, but I know a bit.
Adam, again, thank you so much for sharing us about fatherhood and your son, etc. during this interview. And I'm really glad you came here in the studios. But look, just before you go, we actually have a bit of a challenge that we ask all of our guests. And the challenge is 10 questions in 60-second challenge. So, Adam Luckin, do you accept the challenge?
Yes, I do.
All right, Adam, your time starts now. Favourite colour?
Red.
Red. Favourite food?
Indian.
Oh,
very good.
Yeah. Favourite celebrity?
Roger Federer.
Great. Favourite actor?
Hugh Jackman.
He's a good Australian actor. Favourite professional speaker?
Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer is awesome. Favourite book?
I'd say You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Yeah, Louise Hay. Favourite movie?
Princess Bride.
Favourite drink?
Kombucha.
Really?
Yeah.
Favourite city?
Paris.
And favourite pizza topping?
Mushrooms and olives.
All the way. I do agree with that. And Adam Luckin, if you could be an animal, which animal would you be?
I'd be an eagle.
Why is that?
Because they soar, and I want to soar in my life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Celebrity Authority Show. Well done.
Our next TENx speaker was a world champion athlete in lacrosse and a devoted grandmother bringing a message of hope. She is a living example of our capacity to transform ourselves and our situations. Her mission is to open hearts and weave a global movement of spruthing, speaking truth, by helping people to trust and speak their unique perspectives and become soulful trailblazers in their own life, workplace and community. Today, she will be inviting you to share your spruth in the future of living from love and compassion. Please welcome to the stage, Heather Joy Basset.
The future of you I'd like you to say the future of me. Share your spruce. I'd like you to say, share my spruce. And I'm here to share the future of living from love and compassion. Will you marry me? Wasn't expecting that one. Will you marry me, seriously? 2 letters. Pardon? No. Okay, hold that thought till later. If you like, it's a permission space. So spruce is a permission space. You all gave yourself permission to be here today. You all gave yourself permission to make it about you. Turn to the person next to you and say, this is about me. Now turn to another person and say, this is about my future. So of course you're not going to marry me because that would be about me. And this is about you. For me, looking at that iceberg, what I locked away inside me sat underneath that iceberg. When I was not speaking my truth, shoving things down inside, things locked in my head, they were all under the surface there. So I invite you to look at, what are you locking away? What is that facade on the top of the water that says I'm fine? And of course you are on top of the water, but what else is going on underneath? Where else could you speak your truth with love and compassion? Spruce. The photo there is my family. My mum, my daughter, and myself, 20 years ago. So I could talk about my story, but there's a picture speaks 1,000 words. That's me. In the middle, sharing my spruce, is where I now live. So my invitation to you is to share your spruce. And say, share my spruce? Share my spruce. Someone asked me, well, who's done that? Who knows who the man on the left is there, on the right is there? Martin Luther King. He shared his spruce, love and compassion, and it changed a nation. It changed the future for many, many people. So it can change you. It can change the culture of you. But why spruce? See, I thought I was being really honest. I'm successful. I've got it all, right? The world champion, the privilege of a mortgage, a successful business. But you can see by that previous photo, I didn't have it all at all. It was all locked underneath the surface there. And I thought I was protecting people. But the rip. So why spruce? When I share from spruce, from love and compassion, then everyone in my world receives those ripples. And some of you might have had the joy of receiving some of those ripples. Hands up if you've received some of my love and compassion. Cool. That excites me, that's why. Plato. No one is more hated than he who speaks his truth. I wonder why we lock it down inside. Me. I like my quote much better. But then hang on, it's not about me. It's about you. Do you want to be the most loved human or the most hated? Interesting to play with, I think. Spruce is from the boardroom to the bedroom. I have a client who's a hard nut to crack, he says. A Vietnam vet in the US, and he's like, I've tried to find holes in this. I've tried to find holes in this idea of yours, but I can't. I can literally do family and friends. So when you take a moment John Lennon invited us to imagine. So I'd like you to imagine that someone you love deeply is with you right now. Fill your heart with that love and compassion. Who is that person that's with you right now? Open your mission to stop. They're safe. And remind them that they matter. They're important and they're enough. Invite them to really look at what's underneath. What's really going on? Simply, where are they not speaking the truth? The boardroom, the bedroom? So this person, and then how they feel angry, but that's shoved down. Or is it that they're locking away their sadness? Because you shouldn't be too sad. Sadness is the empath, the lover, the connector of humanity. Or are they feeling scared? And scared, fear is what determines our risks. So my little grandson, you did hear I'm a grandma, 2 little boys. My grandson was looking at the going in. He'd never been in a bit scary. It was about to cut, it's not scary. It's like, so instead of saying it's really scary, holding him, it's a bit scary. We have all these things that we shove down like that iceberg underneath us. And it causes dis-ease of mind and body, as you could see by that previous photo of myself 20 years ago. I thought I was being really honest about everything in my life. It wasn't happening. So now what I want you to do is imagine that person that you love dearly is, guess who? You. So I'd like you to turn to the person next to me and say, that's me, that I love dearly. And with love and compassion for yourself, because this isn't actually about the other person. Because you see, those ripples go out. So this love and compassion has to be from self first. Because we've all heard we want to belong. If we don't belong in here, inside our body, then we can't belong somewhere else. And I know, I tried it. And I'm sure many of you have as well, because I've heard the stories. So from this place of being compassionate and incredibly loving to yourself, really loving, whatever that looks like for you, and I want you to imagine that you effortlessly speak what is really true to your heart. What brings you the joy? Because often we shove the joy down as well. It's not simply that we shove the sadness down or the fear, but we shove that joy down inside. Oh, don't be too excited. Oh, don't be too much. Who's ever been told not to be too much? Oh, not many. I thought there'd be lots more of you than that. We have a moment of choice, a moment of absolute certainty of where you want to live from. Do you want to live from Play-Doh? For yourself, knowing that everyone in your world gets the love as well. A lot of questions going on, isn't there? Me, you. Take a moment to read this one for me, please. And I'd like you to turn to the person next to you. And if you believe that this is the way to live from, I'd like you to share that commitment. Will you? Out loud to someone next to you. I have no idea that later. I'd like you to stand up. I'm over time. My sincere apologies. Stand up, high five yourself, and then high five someone next to you. Thank you.
Woo! Give it up for Heather Joy Basset.
Hey guys, Sam Cawthorn here, CEO and founder of Speakers Tribe, and in this curriculum video, it is all about performance. You know, every single month we release one of these new curriculum videos, and if you haven't seen our previous months, my encouragement to you would be to go onto the website SpeakersTribe.com, and on there you can see a whole heap of other videos. So this video here will go for less than 10 minutes, and we're going to be specifically unpacking what performance means as a speaker. You know, I started professionally speaking close to 12 years ago, and one thing I realized very soon is that our content doesn't really matter as much as our methodology. And this is the first thing that we're going to be uncovering in today's curriculum video all on performance, realizing how can you get to that methodology mindset in the fastest possible way. The second thing we're going to be talking about is control. How can you control your nerves? How can you make sure that you get up on stage and you've got that suave, you've got that charisma that to make it look like that you are performing this content. And then the third thing that we're going to be unpacking is can you ensure that whenever you do get into those high pressure situations, whether it's doing a pitch or a presentation, it looks absolutely seamless, that you have everything under control, that you are mastering your methodology, and everything also is seamless as well. Let's first of all have a look at the difference between content and methodology. Now, I constantly reiterate this quite a bit, but the reality is that there are people out there that probably have better content than you. There are people out there that certainly have better content than me. But one thing that I found all throughout my journey, that it is not about the content itself. It's more about how we deliver that content in a really powerful way and perform it in a way, yeah? Which is obviously what this curriculum video is all about. So when you have mastered that content, when you know exactly what that content is, then it is about the charisma of delivering that content. How can you perform that content in a way that keeps people at the edge of their seat? You know, in a certain way, you're actually acting that content out. Yet at the same time, I want it to come across as authentic as possible. So yes, in a way, we've got a bit of a pull and struggle here, because in one breath we're saying deliver that content really authentically, but in the other breath we're saying perform it in a really powerful way. But you know something, guys, that's exactly the truth, is what we're trying to say here, is that when you know your content really well, then you can then start speaking directly from your heart and being really authentic and transparent through delivering of that. Yet at the same time, you want to deliver that in a really entertaining way and performing that in a way that keeps people excited and on the edge of their seat. So sometimes, yes, that does require a little bit of crazy eyes. It requires more Red Bull energy, but also sometimes it requires you to rein it in as well. So there are times where you want to be high energy. There are times also where you want to also rein that in and get that really deep and meaningful. But when you can manage your energy timeline really well, you can then really uncover exactly what we mean by not necessarily your content, what you say, but your methodology, how you say it. That's the first element. Second element is this, is all about control. Now, Mark Twain said this: every single speaker gets nervous on stage, or they are a liar. And one thing I love about this is that, yes, we actually do get nervous on stage. I still get nervous on stage, even though I've been speaking in 36 countries. I've shared my story over 5,000 times in various events all throughout the world. I've done regularly over 10,000 people in audiences. But the reality is I still get nervous. But I don't get nervous because I'm insecure and I'm worried about what you think of me. But I get nervous because I care. I really care for my audience. I really want to make sure that I do add value and serve them in the best possible way. Yet at the same time, through those nerves and sometimes through the uncertainty of thinking that I'm either not good enough or I'm not worthy, I need to make sure that I do show to my audience that I'm in control. It is really important for you to literally show, particularly when you are delivering new content, or even if you're feeling a lot of pressure on this big stage, you need to make sure that you are showing to your audience that you are in control. We in general, as audiences, we don't really want to feel sorry for the speaker up in front, and also we don't really want to see this speaker as coming across uncertain. And right now in the world, we are seeing more unprecedented uncertainty than any other time in history. And one of the main reasons is because over the last 10 years, we've seen all this change, and we've seen more constant change than any other time in history. And through this change, it's now seen that the market is becoming really uncertain. And what they're looking for us as thought leaders, experts and speakers, they're looking for certainty. So we need to make sure that we do come across and we're performing our content with absolute certainty. Even if we only learnt it 2 minutes ago, even if we only learned it last week, or if we're reading a book and now we're delivering that, we still need to make sure that we're coming across with absolute certainty, that we are always in control of every word that we are saying. We're in control, we're not putting in filler words, we're not saying words like or maybe or sort of or should. We're not saying filler words like and or whatever it might be, that we do come across with absolute certainty that we are in control of our gestures, of our language, of our facial expressions, and that way then we can perform this content in a more powerful way. So that's the second element, which is all around control. The third area here is all around being seamless. You know, one thing I absolutely love is when I see an outstanding professional speaker and they're using technology and they're using visuals and they're using sound, etc., and everything looks seamless. It's amazing. Sometimes you don't even see them click their clicker, and they certainly don't look around and see what's on the slides behind them. Everything is absolute seamless. Not only have they mastered their methodology, not only have they clearly mastered their control, but it all looks beautifully seamless. So there's a few things I wanted to share with you around being seamless. Let's unpack this. So the first element is this: always up. And that's all about always being positive, even when things don't go according to plan. You know, technology never goes according to plan. Even your slides or whatever it is, it never necessarily goes according to plan. But you need to make sure that you're always thinking positive. So if something doesn't go according to plan, it's not about getting really frustrated and showcasing the audience that you're frustrated. It's about just simply saying, hey guys, as you can see, AV doesn't go according to plan, but I'm sure our AV team right now are onto it, and we're going to get that fixed. So you want to make sure it comes across as if you're still in control. You're in control of your emotions, and even when things don't go according to plan, you are still in control. So really being seamless and thinking always up. The other area of always up as well and being positive is that if you look up, you can actually access easier your memory rather than looking down when we get frustrated. So when we get frustrated, we automatically look down. Whereas when we look down, research will tell us that we can't necessarily access our thinking in a fast, quick and effective way. Whereas when we look up, we can actually access that thought really faster. We can remember our words. Thus also we're thinking more positivity. Thus also we're showcasing that we are in control. So the first one is this: always up. The second one is this: smirk. Yes, you heard me right. Smirk. And what we mean by smirk is that when you want to come across really seamless, in control, mastered your methodology and really performing that message in a really powerful way, you want to make sure that it doesn't look like you're worried or concerned, doesn't look like you're too serious, doesn't look like you're too happy. But that smirk there's a level of charisma when you do a nice little cheeky smirk. So how can you smirk more when you're on stage? You can showcase your likability, you can showcase you're in control, you can showcase a little bit of real solidarity that I'm confident, competent and charismatic when I'm delivering this message. So the second one is this, is more of how you look, smirk more, yeah? Now your third one is this, pause and freeze. Pause and freeze. And what we mean by that is when you are performing your communication, your presentation or your pitch or whatever you are communicating, you want to make sure that yes, you come across absolute in control, that you are absolute seamless, but you want to also pause when necessarily. You know, you guys have constantly heard me say, embrace that uncomfortable silence. And it is so true as well. So my encouragement to you is whenever you pause, freeze the gesture. And then when you continue to talk again, then you can move your gestures. And then as you pause again, freeze the gesture. And then you continue on. When you pause and freeze more, it will showcase that you are both performing, but also you're very seamless in what you do. So guys, this curriculum is all specifically about how you guys can perform better when you get into those situations, whether it's on the camera, whether it's on stage, whether it's in a pitch in a boardroom. You want to make sure that you can perform that content. And again, those three ways of performance. The first one is content versus methodology. The second one is control. And then the third one is seamless. So guys, don't forget also to make sure that you do put into your diaries the next Speakers Tribe event there in your local city. And we're really looking forward to keeping you on this journey of growth towards where you are today to where you really want to be. I'm Sam Cawthorne, CEO and founder of Speakers Tribe. To your success, have an awesome day.
I was an unsure individual with some basic public speaking skills. Over this weekend, I have learnt so much more than I expected, both about public speaking, but also about myself. The passion of everyone on the team here is infectious and inspiring. We can all build on our apparent lack of skills. You don't know what you might reveal. What do you think you're really bad at? Do that. If we do that, you could achieve what you previously thought was unimaginable.
Holly, you are perceptive and you are a thinker. I believe you are now fearless on stage. You have a great message, and it's time for you now to step out and share this with as many people as possible.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode here at Speakers TV. My name is Sam Cawthorne and we are super excited about Speakers TV and about these episodes that we bring to you every single weekday as well as also on every single Saturday. Guys, we'd love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback at all for us, or maybe you want to comment right now in the chat bar about what was your biggest takeaway from today's session. But also not only that, why don't you join us? So here at Speakers Institute, we do have a number of programs such as our online boot camps or our protege program. At Speakers Tribe here, we're all about running these big, large annual conferences every year. But also not only that, there is an annual membership that you can get where in your city we do have tribe gatherings, all really encouraging you going from where you are today to where you really want to be. Or maybe you want to tell your friends and your family about Speakers TV. But can I please encourage you, why don't you like this page? Why don't you join us each day? Why don't you tell other people about these episodes? Because we are all about really helping you on this journey to becoming that recognised voice of authority, for you to find your message and your story and get that out there into the world. We are super excited about your journey, so please lean in and join us today. To your success, my name is Sam Cawthorn, and don't forget, the best is yet to come.